this is another topic that it's really, really hard for women, that they suffer a lot of sexual abuse in the work, like her boss making sexual tension and comments, and also when she was a student. But there's also a big issue of abuse for her friend. Well, it was now her friend, but Harriet.
Right.
She experienced this kind of abuse, and you portrayed all kinds of abuses women can get in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really hard topic to read. Was it to write as well?
It was really hard to write it. You know, I think what's really surprising to me, a lot of men think that because we had the Me Too movement, that sexual abuse has somehow been solved, and that there aren't these situations. But in fact, it's increasing, which I didn't realize. And in the United States, 1 out of 6 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. In the UK, it's 1 in 5 women. It's very common, and about 75% of the time, the woman knows her attacker. But it's really sad to think that this still goes on, and that people think, well, we've already discussed that, so it must not be happening anymore, when in fact, it's become very prevalent. So I had Harriet with her husband, who was, you know, abusive in a lot of ways, because that's what happens for a lot of women. And it was hard to write about, you know, thinking about Harriet in that situation and Elizabeth in her situations. But I think it's something that people need to be reminded, this is actually still the same for a lot of women.
Yeah, of course. Talking about the sexual harassment, remember when Elizabeth, she had the pencil in her head, and she defended herself with the pencil and stabbed it to the it was a professor, I think, the teacher.
Professor, yeah.
Yes. We saw that as a symbolism of defending yourself with writing, with words. Have you ever thought about it, or someone have come with this idea?
I love that. You know, I wanted to use a pencil because Elizabeth says that scientists know they make a lot of mistakes, so they write things in pencil because they need to erase and rewrite. And one of my ideas there, although I love this idea that, you know, she's using her words as a weapon too, and the words are symbolized by a pencil. I was also thinking really about how these terrible things happen to people in life. And a lot of times you'll find people cannot get past something that's been difficult for them. And what Elizabeth Zott is advocating is that you erase it. It doesn't mean it goes away. You can still see the outline of what you've written, but it's no longer ruling your life. And so for her, that pencil is a symbol of internal strength. If she is approached again in a negative way, she knows what to do, but she is also reminded of her power when she touches her pencil.
Exactly. And when you were writing Elizabeth Zott, we just saw the trailer for the upcoming series, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited. But when you were writing Elizabeth Zott with her eyeglasses and her pencil, #2 pencil and everything, were you thinking in about someone specific for her to be the actor who we're going to be portraying in a series?
You know what? I never ever thought my book would get published. I never got to that point where I thought, oh, I'd have to, you know, think about who would play these characters. I never envisioned anyone. And it's only on the American cover they put glasses on her, which she doesn't have in the, and in other cultures too, they do all these things. And it's so interesting. But what happened with the series is that before I even had given my manuscript over to both Britain and the US publishers, Hollywood had signed it as a series, and Brie Larson called me and told me that she wanted to be Elizabeth Zott and she wanted to be the executive producer. I just couldn't believe it. So before the book was even published, before I even thought about, well, who would play these characters, people were just falling in place saying, I want to be this character and I want to be this character, which was, I mean, Brie Larson has an Academy Award, and I can see why. I watched part of the series because it's all done. It's almost all done. And she is really formidable. I mean, she does a really good job playing Elizabeth Zott. So I feel like I'm really lucky, but Hollywood finally did say to me, you know, who do you see playing some of these roles? And so I sat one weekend and I thought about all the people I could see, and I sent them my list and they didn't use any of them.
It's gonna be
Well,
great.
they know better, right?
I know, they know better. They know better. So, yeah.